But in the middle of that, she had that refrigerator. And they actually used so I'm like, right.
I'll bring a chair over here.
I know. She wants to fix it. So these women are fighting for change. Yeah.
That's sort of the point, is it's like meant to conversation.
The microphone on? I set it up, but then I didn't test it. I just wanted to make sure.
Testing. Oh, turn this. Hang on.
Testing.
But then when you do that, well, political tech is everywhere. People are building it left and right. It's across it. Last month. Yeah.
We're ready for you when you are.
Demo tech, because I'll be very honest with you.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are ready to start collecting the door prizes. We want the money too, of course. Yes, we want the money. But if you would please bring your paper up here and put it into this bowl, I would like to be able to pass out. I've got some lovely door prizes this time. Wait till you see, they're very exciting. Let me put this. I'm going to put this on the dessert table. That way you could get some dessert when you bring your paper up. Oh, well, to contributions, there are envelopes on the table, and there are envelopes at the front door. And please bring them over here, because we definitely want your money. We will be starting in about 2 or 3 minutes. Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, when you bring your fabulous fundraising money over to the table, there's an article. It's from the Atlantic, and it's called "Donald Trump is Enjoying This." And so if you'd like to read it, it's there.
Good afternoon. Hi. Did you see my text? No. I think it's a good idea. I texted you. What if instead of recording a TikTok of just me today, we at our young Gens meeting, you can get the perspective of a bunch of other members. I think that's better than just me talking.
Well, you could, this was your tomorrow. But
Good. Tomorrow.
yeah.
Six? Seven. Yeah. Whittier Cafe.
I'm pretty sure I can make that.
Okay, good.
That'd be great. But when we get up to top, I will it'll be Matt will be talking. But I'm going to
Yeah. All right, I can do that.
okay.
Yes. They don't know who
What is this? 1983? Definitely have a pen.
Yeah, that's what
Not me. Your pocket protector? Yeah, your pocket exactly. You have pockets, I can sure. It's not a bad idea. They want me to see this little app.
That's mine.
Good evening, everybody. I'm sorry to interrupt your conversations. My name's Andrew Fisher. I'm the captain of District 6A. Thank you all for coming tonight. It's really good to see a full room. Before I hand things over to Mark, who's going to do some announcements, I just want to make a point of order for our speakers tonight. After our last few meetings running a little over, we have invested in a very high-tech red neon countdown timer at the front table. So if you come up to speak, the timer will be counting down, and if you run out of time, Kathy will hustle you off stage. So please keep an eye on the timer. All right, everybody, please welcome our HD6 chair and finance chair, Mark Kamen.
Wow, I get 15 minutes?
No, that's for
Oh, I was like, I feel privileged. Okay. Hi, hello, everybody. Welcome to HD6. It is nice to see a full room. Got me a little worried last month, but you're all back or new. So thank you for being here. I just want to see a show of hands. How many of you are new and have never been to an HD6 meeting? Nice to have you here, and you, Cindy Lou. Cindy Lou's my neighbor. So, all right, I have some announcements. First of all, and I hope I didn't miss anybody, all the food here is brought to us by volunteers that sign up. So I want to thank the volunteers who brought food tonight. Jean Williams, raise your hand.
Karen.
Stephanie Wilson.
Oh.
Maya Sitar. Mesa Sitar.
Thank you.
Gail Marcus.
Yay!
Jan Pilkington.
Woo! And she's
Back
also
there.
helping with the door.
Randy Ross.
Yay!
Did you name
What?
The one that doesn't have any
two
energy.
people?
The one that doesn't have any energy.
Yeah, that's Karen.
Yeah.
I don't know what you're saying.
Forget it.
Okay, I don't know what she's saying, but did I miss anybody? Okay, good. All right, so speaking of food, I have a sign-up sheet that we're going to pass around. We have no meeting next month because we have our annual picnic on July 13th. Adam, I'm glad you're happy about that. But we do need people to sign up for August. So I'm going to pass this around. I do have one person that called me, said she's sick, she's not going to be here tonight, but she wants to do fried chicken for August. And that's been a custom of hers for probably at least 5 years. So I will put her on here. I'm hoping a bunch of you will sign up and help us out. And that will, actually, this can go around right now. All right, as I said, summer picnic is Sunday, July 13th, from 2 o'clock to 4 o'clock. It's at Great Lawn Park in Lowry. So you go up Lowry Boulevard, go into Aurora, you make a left into the park entrance, which is across from the ice arena there, and it's a very short turn, and you'll see the pavilions there. We will start selling tickets hopefully next week. So look for that. Tickets are going to be $20 for adults. This helps us raise enough money to get through the rest of the year. And kids, what is it, 13 and under?
Free. Yep. 13
and under kids are free. But don't just go looking for kids to bring. Oh, hey, little boy. All right, I have a couple of other things. So Saturday, I don't know how many of you were at DemFest downtown. It was really awesome. There were over 1,000 people that showed up. There were a bunch of candidates there, a lot of speaking. But there was a guy there from Lakewood who I know, and he said, do you have any interest in trying to sell T-shirts? And this is going to sound prejudiced, but he has a T-shirt that says, Michael Bennett, stay in the Senate. Take that for what you would like. I think people that know me personally already know where I stand on all that. Two other things. How many of you, raise your hand, are Century Club members? About 50%. So those of you who are not Century Club members, you need to join Century Club. Century Club is the largest fundraiser for the county party. And right now, we are struggling to match what we did last year. So we have got to get Century Club going. I chair the Century Club for the county. You can sign up. It's as little as $10 a month, up to $90 a month, or you can do annuals that are $100, $200, $500, and $1,000. So I really hope some of you will sign up tonight and get into Century Club. We do have a Century Club event that we're doing at the end of August. and hopefully you'll be a member and you'll be invited. There's the flyer on your tables. You can do the QR code on there, and that will sign you up. If you have questions or need help, feel free to talk to me at any time tonight. Last thing I haven't asked for, HD6 needs to raise money for us. So if anybody would like to donate to HD6 tonight, you can do a couple of different things. You can do cash, and you need to put it in one of these BRE envelopes that are on all the tables. Please fill it out with your name, your address, your email, phone number, all that stuff. You can also write a check. If you do a check, it gets made out to DPOD, Democratic Party of Denver, but you can abbreviate, and you still need to fill the BRE out. If you want to do it on credit card, where's Karen? Karen?
Yes, sir.
Isn't there something over there that they can do the QR code? Okay, we'll look for it. If we don't find it, just fill out the BRE and we will process all of that. So I would love to see like 10 people join tonight. So last thing I'm going to say, for HD6 donations, I am putting $10 in the BRE for tonight. I hope many of you will join me, and we will do well tonight to raise money for our house district. And you can, thank you. There's the thing for the scan. There's a bowl over there, silver bowl. You can put your donations in for HD6 or Century Club. Any questions? No questions. All right, I'm going to go eat. Enjoy your food.
Thank you, Mark. Okay, our first two speakers this evening are Dr. Les Reitman and Virginia Geppard. Both of them separately emailed us asking us to speak for a few minutes about Senate Bill 2545, Healthcare Payment System Analysis, concerning the analysis of a statewide universal healthcare payment system. Please come on up.
Yay!
Well, thank you for inviting me to speak here. We got an email from Karen who asked for a speaker to talk about SB 45. And I'm happy to do that tonight. Les and I are volunteers with Colorado for Universal Healthcare, and we worked for 3 years to pass this bill, and we finally got this thing passed, and we're pretty excited about it. My name is Virginia Gebhardt. I live in Lafayette in HD12. I'm a retired pharmacist, and I've been active in the Healthcare for All movement since 2016. I'm a volunteer advocate with Colorado for Universal Healthcare, as I said, as is Les. And I'm very happy to report that SB 45, Healthcare Payment System Analysis, has passed after 3 years of hard work. And I didn't think it was real until the governor actually signed it on May 14th. And as he signed it, he made some very supportive remarks about the possibility of doing better here in Colorado. He knows that people without insurance and even people with insurance live in fear of medical debt. They put off care until their condition gets really serious, and then they land in the ER. This is so backward in terms of keeping people healthy and keeping healthcare costs down. SB 45, Healthcare Payment System Analysis, believe it or not, this title actually says what the bill will do. As we know, a lot of times the titles of bills are kind of deceiving. Anyway, this bill will ask the Colorado School of Public Health to analyze draft model legislation for a state-based public health care payment system and for Colorado. And the bill requires that an analysis collaborative be established. This is basically a group of stakeholders who will meet at least twice during the time the Colorado School of Public Health is working on the analysis. And their purpose will be to provide stakeholder input to make sure the analysis addresses the questions and concerns that they have about what state-based public health insurance for all would look like in Colorado. For example, these are some of the questions that they might have. Can you imagine an efficient, comprehensive public health insurance system for all in Colorado? Would we be free to receive long-term care and home care? Would we be free to receive comprehensive medical benefits, including dental, hearing, vision, and mental health care? Would we be free to make healthcare decisions with our own healthcare providers? Would we be free to choose our own healthcare providers? Would all Colorado residents be covered? Would we be free to fund this system through premiums based on our ability to pay? Would we be free from paying deductibles and copays at the point of service? Would we benefit from fair drug and hospital prices? Would healthcare providers receive fair payment? Would we benefit from a single public health insurance plan, getting rid of corporate insurance and PBM middlemen? Would we be free from slavery to corporate middlemen who with perverse incentives and power to limit our benefits? Can you imagine gaining this kind of freedom from simply changing the messed up way we pay for healthcare now? These are the kinds of questions that the analysis will answer. The due date for the report is back to the legislature is December 31st of 2026. We believe this analysis will inform future healthcare policy decisions and legislation. We don't know what the report will conclude, but we hope this closer look at the details of healthcare for all in Colorado will confirm what the Colorado School of Public Health reported to the legislature in 2021. That study showed at a higher 30,000-foot level that a single public health insurance system for Colorado would save up to $1 billion per year. We hope this more detailed analysis will confirm that yes, this could be accomplished in Colorado. We could save billions while covering everybody in Colorado, everybody in and nobody out. And I have to admit, one of the reasons that this bill passed in this session is that we, the Alliance of nonprofits that were working on this, agreed that we would do the fundraising to fund the analysis. As everybody probably in this room knows, the state budget this year was extremely tight, and they had to cut over $1 billion from the budget. So having any kind of fiscal note at all was a real disadvantage this year in getting anything through the legislature. So we volunteered to fundraise the $750,000 that will take for the Colorado School of Public Health to do this analysis. And we're just getting started on the fundraising now. And we're confident that we can raise the money in a timely manner in time for the Colorado School of Public Health to get started on this. It'll take them about a year to do this analysis. And we're about to hand off a draft model legislation that they will actually analyze and critique and say, this is possible, but that's not possible. You know, the whole thing is not possible. Parts of it are possible. We don't know what the outcome will be, but we're hopeful that it will support what is our ultimate goal, which is healthcare for all in Colorado, a state-based universal healthcare system. And I'd like to stop right now and see if there are some questions that people have about what I've just told you, or about the bill itself.
Can you tell us how we can support it? Do you have envelopes or do you have
Yes, I can tell you. We have just made arrangements with CU and the Colorado School of Public Health to accept donations, and they will. We will be working with a professional fundraiser, of course, for such a large amount of money, but the CU folks are willing to take small dollar donations as well as the larger donations, and they're willing to take donations from individuals, or if an organization wants to get together and do a fundraiser or just gather donations and then send them all in the name of that particular organization, they can do that. And I don't have that information with me tonight, frankly. I didn't think about that because it has just come together in the last couple of weeks. But I'd be happy to create an email and send it to Karen, and she can share that with you if you'd like to make donations. Okay.
Thank you. That'd be great.
Yeah. Well, thank you for being so eager to support this effort. I really appreciate it.
I mean, this is our path to single payer, where we can provide healthcare to everyone. And so it's like Denver General as an example of our community reaching out and supporting a healthcare agency. This can do it at a state level. So.
Indeed, that is our goal. And I will just give you the timeline. In the best of all dreams, in the best of all worlds, this analysis will be finished at the end of 2026, and it will be presented to the legislature. And of course, someone in the legislature is going to say, wow, this looks really great. Let's run a referred ballot measure. And they would be able to do that. The timing for that would be such that it could be put on the 2028 ballot. And I'm kind of jesting because we're not sure if anyone will do that. And if they don't, then we're prepared to consider a citizen initiative to get it on the ballot. Yes?
It's nice to see some young people here, but my question is, how will this interact with Medicare?
Well, that's a great question, and of course one that everybody asks, and that's one of the things that will be elucidated in this analysis. They may say that, well, we should just leave Medicare alone and just make this a giant supplemental for Colorado. Or they will say, well, let's work with the federal government and get a waiver to receive the funding that comes to Colorado through Medicare now, and funnel it into this authority that would be the single payer. So does that answer your question? Okay, thanks.
We have one over here.
Yes.
Has any other state been successful in passing a measure like this? And if not, which state has gotten the closest?
Well, as you know, Vermont passed a universal health care bill years ago, and for very particular reasons, due to where the population was distributed, and some people worked in neighboring states, and it's such a small state, eventually it didn't work out for them. But since that time, there are about 20 different states who have been working on this, and some of them are not as far along as we are, and some of them are a little bit more advanced. For instance, I know that New York State has had a universal health care bill introduced into the legislature there every year for the last 30 years. And so it just hasn't gone anywhere. California has been working on this for years, and they had a bill introduced a few years ago, and just at the last minute they pulled it because they realized the governor wasn't going to support it after he promised he would. So Oregon is very close. They've done a lot of work. And as I've gone around and looked at some of these other states, just do a search to see what other states are up to, it's really interesting that we're all kind of following the same path. We're getting analyses done. I think Oregon has created a commission. Washington State is very similar to what they're doing. And so we're all at various stages, and one of us is going to be successful. And to me, it doesn't matter who's first. And all of our states can be laboratories of democracy and laboratories to see what the best system will be. And what works really well in one state might work in another. For instance, Colorado is unique with Tabor. And so other states don't have to worry about, satisfying the requirements of Tabor. And something that's very interesting, you might like to know, is that Utah is very close to having a single payer ballot initiative, maybe even in 2026.
Wow.
And so, and the leader of the movement there is a conservative Mormon doctor, and he's been working on this for years. So lots of different efforts.
Yeah, so I remember when the ballot measure was here in Colorado, maybe in 2018 or something, and it really felt like the zenith of the progressive moment, and it's still colossally failed. It was like 25-75, and it was really disappointing. It feels like everywhere I've seen initiatives come up, they get slapped down by the voters, and so I was wondering what your thoughts were on that, what steps you're taking, for a successful run when it was so poor last time.
Sure. Thank you for that. Our prime sponsor, one of our prime sponsors, Representative Karen McCormick from HD11 up in Longmont, Colorado, says right off the bat, whenever she presents about this, that she wanted to vote for Amendment 69 in 2016 because she really wanted to see universal health care succeed in this state, because she's a veterinarian. She had her own small business, and she didn't like being in the insurance business. She wanted to just get out of that. She didn't want to be in between an insurance company and her workers, her employees. And so she's been wanting to do this for a long time. And so she would say that this study will answer a lot of the questions that she felt were not answered in that particular initiative. There were still too many questions that people had, like, for instance, the thing about Medicare, and it wasn't explained well enough to the voters. And so, yes, we're aware of that, and we felt like it was a failing up situation where you run a measure, you learn a lot, and debrief and don't make the same mistakes and try to learn and do better next time.
Les, did you want to speak for a few minutes? We got about 5 minutes left.
Sure. I've just been coming to these meetings for about 6 months, so you may not know me, but I'm a retired geriatrician. And I worked in nursing homes a lot, and I was fortunate because I worked in hospital-based facilities. So that was back in the old days, but that was a really good question. What's changed since 2016 when we got wiped out by big pharma, big medicine? 60% of doctors now are employed by corporations like United Healthcare and what is that one? Human Spirit, as if we have to be reminded that we're human. It's such a marketed commodity, and I think Trump, in his unintended way, is enhancing the glaring inadequacy of our health care. And cutting Medicaid, and making people feel like we have to do something to take it out of the for-profit realm. And doctors just don't like being told that they have 10 minutes to see a patient. And so more and more doctors are really, I belong to an organization called Physicians for National Health Plan. And they're really the ones that in the last year and a half, when Biden was still in there, that actually cut back on the price increase that the Medicare Advantage programs were allowed to do. And that was based on PNHP opening Elizabeth Warren and even Bernie Sanders' eyes to the overbilling that these companies have done. So I think there's a lot more negative publicity for-profit healthcare now, and certainly anyway. Well, it's a good time, and for me, being involved in this now is a way of giving me a little bit more hope. I mean, it's really. I think everybody in this room should be working on one organization that they maybe are more aware of, or give them a sense of being connected. And for me, this is it. And at least, we're going to be, working on we're going to be educating people more and more. And what used to be a dirty word, Medicare for all, is now kind of even Senator Bennett. And by the way, I know him because my best friend works as a doctor for his mom. So I have an in if anybody wants to give me a call. They have a special issue. I love the guy, but I agree with Mark, whatever he says.
Stay in the Senate.
So thanks for your support. Last thing I'll mention, there's a really, Virginia mentioned this doctor in Utah named Joe Jarvis, and so he has a video that I would be glad to share with people if you want to have some friends or people over your house. I'm talking to the choir, I think, but like I live in a senior apartment building, the Overture, a few blocks away. I'm going to show a video of that, so maybe we can get that in the newsletter.
Is there a question from anybody for him? No? Just thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
One more thing. In the worst possible timing ever, Colorado Foundation for Universal Healthcare scheduled a conference, a day-long conference on June 14th. We scheduled this long before No Kings became a thing, and our speakers have been booked and so forth. So what we're going to do at the end of our conference, at the end of the day at 3 o'clock, we're going to have a demonstration. This is going to be in Lafayette, Colorado, where I'm from. If you're interested in it, it'll be our featured speakers are Wendell Potter, who is less than he's our hero because he's a Cigna insurance executive turned whistleblower, and he has an awesome Substack. He's going to be our speaker. And then the other featured speaker is Rose Roach. She is the National Coordinator for Labor for Single Payer campaign. And we're going to have a video from Les Leopold and Representative Jayapal. So if you're at all interested in attending that, I've got the handouts right here so that you could attend. And we'd really love to have you up there. Thanks.
Thank you. Do you have one?
Yes. And I want you to come over here. Okay. So we're gonna. We're gonna do the door prizes right now. Oh.
Somebody didn't get one in.
I hope you have them turned in because I'm gonna, pull these door prizes, and these are like amazing.
A pair of shoes. You're not going to read it, are you?
Well,
No.
We'll see. So Kathy's gonna draw one. Just draw one.
Can I draw my own?
Yeah. Did you put one in? I didn't either. So this is written rather small for these old eyes. Danny Zimmy Schmidt. Would you like to read yours out loud?
No.
I would really like to. I think it's a great one.
If you think it's a good one.
I think it's a good one.
What I proposed is do everything possible to ensure that the party holds a free and fair primary in the 2028 presidential contest.
Yes.
He wins this fabulous gift prize for the HD6 happy hour next week from this coming Thursday, which is on the 12th. And you get one free drink, or you can have a coffee or sit down with any HD6 leader, and you can just email us, and we will do that. You're welcome. Thank you for your input. Yeah, we got one more. Then we'll do one more. Okay, this is Kim Mathers, and if you would come up here. Oh, okay. Would you read yours?
Okay, I'm a creative type, so I want to hold events that spread more joy and love. I'm all about the vibration. So concerts, art events, park and trail cleanups, walks, cooking, food classes. That's it.
All I need is get some of that started. So you get this.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay.
All right. Our next speaker is Scott Mangino. He's the second vice chair of the Colorado Democratic Party, the statewide party. And he's been speaking to us about a few new things at CDP, including a new app for precinct organizers. Yeah.
Yay, Scott.
What's up, HD6? My old house district for like 11 months, so I'm not going to put that much claim to it. I'm an HD9 now. It's not a big deal. So yeah, I'm Scott Mangino. I'm your second vice chair of the state party. I also serve as the tech captain of the Denver Dems, so naturally, anytime tech comes out, they want me to talk about it. So a lot of people have been asking ever since we lost. What the hell are we going to do? What are we doing now that Trump is and his sycophants are enacting Project 2025 every single day and every single moment? How are we, a party, going to combat that? And how are you individually going to help combat that? And so we at the state party have been really thinking about several things. Several ways that we can, one, get our message out there. I think that was a big loss, is that our message was all over the place in 2024. It wasn't curated to the places we needed to win. We're not great at speaking to people in La Plata County as well as we are in Denver, right? We're not great at speaking to people in Mesa or in Grand County as we are in Jeffco. So how do we get our message out there in a way that can resonate with the voters? And so this is where we took a hard look as sort of how we could do this as a party. And just so you know, I'm not sure if you all knew this. Does anyone know how many counties there are in the state of Colorado?
64.
Wow. 64 is the answer. Does anyone know how many county Democratic parties there are?
64?
I would love for it to be 64.
30.
Believe it or not, 56.
That's not bad.
Wait. Yes, 56. Yeah, 56, which is great. Don't get me wrong, some of those are like 4 people in a county party, but that is better than 0, especially when there are, like 18 D plus 70 Democrats in their county. With that means there are about 3,172 precincts. And as you all know, because many of you in this room are in fact precinct organizers, that's how we organize. That's how we get our message out there. And as also you know, every precinct can have 2 POs. You can do the math. 6,000, whatever, 300 and something. Unfortunately though, we only have about 2,415 POs in the state. But that's still pretty good. About 50% of every precinct has at least 1 PO in it. And so for us, we've been really thinking about how can we bring more people into the party. And the place that we've landed the most is that we have to throw some shit out. We have to stop doing things the way we've always done them, just because that's how they've always been done. That does mean taking a look at how we organize, what we do to organize. Door knocking, texting, emailing, phone calling, 6 weeks before an election. That's what we do. I'm sorry, y'all. That's what we do in Denver. Not even 6 weeks, like 3 weeks. And what do? We drop a piece of paper on their front door? A sample ballot? We don't even ring the doorbell. We don't even knock the door. We just drop and run. First of all, okay, we're on all kids, that's ready. But that is not organizing. And I have a great story, CD8. How many people knocked doors in CD8 this last cycle? A good number of people. When I talk about things not working, I use this example. I was in an apartment complex, open door apartment complex, and knocking doors and dropping lit, Yadir Carveo and Rhonda Solis, both lost. And I remember looking down on one door that no one was answering. And they had valet trash. Many of you have valet trash. Trash cans are outside of the doors. And as I was knocking and I looked down, I counted 13 pieces of lit for Yadir Carveo, which tells me 13 people have been there before me. And then why the heck am I still knocking this door? Because it's obvious this person doesn't even live here anymore. That's broken. That is what's broken. Not the only thing, but one of the examples I like to say of how we need to rethink what we're doing. I argue I have a fairly controversial opinion. We annoyed the hell out of voters this last cycle.
Yeah, we did.
And we encouraged them to actually not vote. Prove me wrong, but that's my opinion from my experience. I think we annoyed people to the point of not wanting to vote. And so, where does this bring us? It brings us to something that we decided to launch at the state party for every single organizer and every single Democrat in the state, and every single person has access to this today. You actually see a piece of paper on your table, and this is called A Stronger Colorado. It's an initiative that we've launched, and there's also more over on the table there. And yes, it is an app, but it's more than an app. What this actually is relational organizing. It's basically saying that we are past the time of unsolicited text messages, of unsolicited phone calls, of annoying commercials breaking up my YouTube TV or Hulu TV or now Amazon, because I spend $170 a year for that damn thing, and they're now putting commercials in Amazon Prime. It's saying, instead of trusting strangers, because that's basically what we've been doing in modern political organizing, trust each other, trust your friends, trust your family. And so what this actually is a new app. And it does a couple of things. The first thing it allows you to do is connect our organization to your contact list. Not that you're sharing information. You can choose to do that, but it is not by default what happens. But it actually imports your contact list into the Reach app. It's called Reach, and you can download it all via the QR codes on the back of that piece of paper. And you can actually see, are they registered to vote? What their political affiliation is, who else they know. And when you actually dig deeper and start to build out your network, you can actually then be prompted with questions to have a conversation with them and to gauge where they are, right? If you had a Republican friend or an unaffiliated friend, I can promise you they're more susceptible to listen to you from a persuasion perspective than a stranger. Maybe not, but more so than a stranger. And so that's what this app is really about. It's one, letting you assess your entire network and to be able to have and to guide you through those formal conversations with them, and not in like let me take you through this survey, but no, giving you the tools to have those conversations to better understand why they do vote, what they don't vote, what they care about, what they don't care about, and what motivates them in life. And to actually log those responses in the app for us to be able to have that data. One-to-one, or in a family setting. That's the first cool thing it does. The second cool thing it does is it allows us, the party, to be able to push out content, graphics, social media posts, messaging that you can easily, by the click of one button, share on your Instagram or share on your Facebook page, right? And you can even change it a little bit if you want, and we can actually curate that messaging based upon that county and based upon that area in which you live, right? And so it's really just a content hub for us to push formal content, messaging, talking points to you, so you have that information to be able to have a conversation with your friends and family. That's the second thing it does. The third thing it does is it connects you to everyone else throughout the state. And so there are chat features where you can join chat rooms of other POs that live in Grand County or La Plata County, and you can share war stories and success stories, and you can actually build that relationship with one another. Obviously, this data is very important to us. This is a data game. That's how you win elections. It's data. And if we don't understand these people who we never reach, but you reach just in your normal conversations, you can help us gather that information, not in a specific way, but in an aggregate, anonymized way. We can better tailor our messaging to the needs of the people you talk to around the kitchen table, or take a yoga class with, or go to the brewery and have a beer with. That's what this is about. It's reaching those people. So we encourage you to please download that app. We will continuously push content. It's gamified, so you get points as you do things, and we actually will raffle off stuff throughout the year to people who are active in the Reach app. But this is really important for us to continue to really create this organization that we all call the Democratic Party in the state, to start to understand the voters and our friends and family a bit more on a deeper level than just a surface level, and to really build this relationship map throughout our party and throughout the state. Thanks, everyone.
Guys, we have time for maybe one or two questions.
Yes, Skip.
Yeah, first of all, Obama did this in 2008, and it worked very well. I know, because I worked on that campaign. So this is not anything new, but what it is, it's a reorganization of how we could do things. And I agree with you. It's a good way to do it because it's relational. It's person to person. Who you are, people, they already know you. You may not have ever talked about politics before. So the first thing I would always do is ask them how they're doing. What's bugging them, and go from there. That's your entry point.
Absolutely. Thanks, Skip.
One more?
It sounds great for people that it fits. Mm-hmm. And I don't usually fit anything, ever. And so I'll tell you, I'm not going to put it on Instagram because I don't know what that is. And I'm not going to do it on Facebook because I restrict that to my very close relatives so I can see pictures of their kids. And I do not use Facebook for other stuff. And I do want to use the information, but in my own way. And I downloaded the thing, and it was asking me all kinds of, like, contact information for me. How can I get this information without, I mean, I'm already volunteering a lot, and I don't really want, you know, like, unless you're going to pay me, I'm done volunteering, you know? So how do I get the information to use in my way? Because I will do it, but not like the stuff you were describing.
Yeah, so, well, you need to have an account in the app. I don't know what QR code you scan. If it was the big one, that's not the same thing. Okay. I mean, you have to have an account in the app. That's the reality. You don't have to connect your contacts, but once you have an account, you'll be able to get all the messaging.
Well, yeah, I'm not going to put my contacts in here, but I don't want to put my own.
Well, sorry.
But I mean, I'm already stuff.
Yeah, I don't know how to answer your question. That's just it's 2025. You gotta sign up for the app. The good thing about the app, though, is if you don't like doing all the posting, if you don't like doing all the sharing, basically we'll constantly push notifications to it of other things to do. I always like to say our modern organizing is going to be a buffet of opportunities. Just like Trump likes to issue executive orders, like it's a buffet of pissing people off every moment. He doesn't do it for everyone, at least every week. He's failing. This is going to be a buffet of opportunities. So if you like writing postcards, there'll be cards in there to actually sign up to write postcards. If you like going to rallies, there'll be ways of signing up to do that. So it won't just be the things that I mentioned. It'll be an opportunity to push different types of opportunities for you.
Thank you so much,
Thank
Scott.
you. All right, last quick announcement before our main speaker. Please welcome Matthew Logan, who's the second vice chair of the Denver Democratic Party.
Good evening, HD6. I am Matthew Logan, as Andrew said, second vice chair of the Denver Democratic Party. I am also the vice president of the Denver Young Democrats. Tonight, I just wanted to give you guys a few updates on what the county is currently working on. But before I do that, I wanted to acknowledge somebody very special in the room today. That is my friend, our county secretary, Michaela Parker. This weekend, she was awarded the Colorado State Rising Star. And we got to celebrate her this past weekend at the Obama Gala. So congrats to you, Michaela. It's good we're a good company tonight. So that's right. So I wanted to get in a couple of updates. First thing, who here has heard of deep canvassing? Okay, wow, very good. It could be better. Deep canvassing, as many of you know, is a non-traditional, fresh approach to canvassing. It is much more based in having conversations with folks rather than, as Scott had alluded to, just dropping lit, doing things the same way we've done them, which clearly has not worked. So deep canvassing is an exciting opportunity. I'll give Karen the mic here real quick to, yeah, go ahead. Okay, yeah. So what we're doing as a party is going to be embracing that these next couple of years as we head into 2026, as we head into 2028. And we have a couple of exciting opportunities to get people ready and engaged within deep canvassing so that we can make sure that it is effective, that it is churning out our younger voters and all of our voters and getting people more engaged in this process and that we're electing Democrats. So what I wanted to let you know about are some events that we're having, deep canvassing trainings. We're going to be starting a round of these in July. So I hope you guys have your phones, some pens ready. I'll be giving you guys a few dates here. The first in June, we'll be having a Canvas script workshopping event. These will all be at our main headquarters office at 3000 Lawrence Street. So that'll be on June 25th. We'll be doing that Canvas script workshop. And then we'll start doing deep canvassing training on a series of days, the first being July 2nd, the second being on July 5th, the third being on July 9th, and the final two being on July 12th and July 13th. So please come check this out. If you're interested, take those dates down, come hang out with us at our main offices. Let's make sure that we're engaging in real substantive work that is going to create the change that we want to see. Deep canvassing is that successful, effective tool to do that. So please, hope to see you guys there. With the times range, I encourage you guys to go onto our website at the Denver Democrats events page. It'll have all the times there. I believe some of them are in the evening, and then we have a few during the weekends, which will be more in the morning and the afternoon. So definitely check those out. Go to our webpage and find those times. The second big update I wanted to give you guys real quick. Yeah, go for it.
So that's the main reason that I wanted to make sure that I chimed in. And when Scott said, dropping lit, that is how a lot of POs have managed it in the past. I never found that to be very effective. I always knock and wait and try and talk. And that has been very effective. But one thing that we did for Yadira Caravans District is we didn't start until very close to the election. So that's another thing that's a big deal. We need to start now. That's what we're going to do. We're going to start now.
And what's excellent about this too is that our training captain this term is Jarek Holmes, who was the Horizon Project Deep Canvassing Coordinator during this last election cycle, trying to help get Yadira Caravelle elected. And we saw some really great results there. Ultimately, not the major result, but we made some substantive progress in that region. So we are in some good hands with Jarek. So please check those out. The second big update I wanted to give you guys is that we have our June picnic coming up on June 22nd. That is going to be at Ruby Hill Park I'll give you guys the address and time real quick. So that's going to be at 1200 West Florence Avenue. That is going to be from 12 to 3 p.m. Please go check that out. The picnic is always a fun event. That is actually how I got involved in the party, was by meeting our great Zaz over here, and that's how I got engaged. So the picnics are always a good time. Please show up for those. The third big update I wanted to give you guys, and this is something I've been working very hard on since reorg in February, that is to get new merchandise up in our web store. We were able to launch this in October with Kamala Harris gear, and obviously we had to update that merch. But we finally got a new product line in there after several months of working with our vendors. Please go check that out. We have 2 different designs across a range of 8 products. Luckily, because we hit we sold $1,000 worth of products, we can now sell more designs and more products. So if you guys have any ideas on different designs and things you'd like to see on our products, please come talk to me. I'd love to get you in touch with our comms team. So one of the final updates I wanted to give real quick too is there has been some big movement within our executive committee. Last week, we passed 2 resolutions, one in which the Democratic Party of Denver will begin endorsing candidates in school board elections. We consider this the first step in the process of making sure that the Denver Democratic Party and the constituents of this city are making their voices truly heard. I mean, let's face it, Denver is a very safe blue city. And for some reason, we've always had to follow this rule, this precedent, that we wouldn't get involved in the primaries, but we would support whoever the general election candidate is. Well, the problem with that is the general election candidate who's going to win is most likely always going to be a Democrat. And so this gives us the opportunity to really make our voices heard and begin choosing the leaders that we feel truly represent us. Because far too often, and I'm sure we're seeing a lot of this today, there are Democrats who will throw that label onto their candidacy because they know without it they can't win in this city, in this county. So we're taking big steps to make sure that we're choosing the leaders that we feel truly represent us, are in positions of power. And the second major resolution that we passed last week, and I actually missed the last executive committee, what a meeting to miss, is the resolution to condemn Governor Polis's veto of SB 2505, otherwise known as the Labor Peace Act. And we are sending a message to the governor that this party and these people in this county stand up for our labor, stand up for our workers, and the people who truly make up this great city. And so those are the big 2 resolutions we passed. I also want to plug real quick, for all the young Democrats in the room, the Denver Young Democrats have their June meeting tomorrow night. I'd like to acknowledge our community liaison here, Levi Griffith. He's our next rising star. I would love to see as many people there. It's at Whittier Cafe, 7 p.m. We're going to be having the esteemed Senator Ball joining us tomorrow night, as well as Rep. Lindsey Gilchrist. So please come hang out with us. It'll be a great time. I hope to see a lot of you there. But if you guys have any questions, please come reach out to me. I'm always ears. Oh, and that one more thing I wanted to plug too. I have office hours every single Friday from 12 to 1 p.m. I would love, or 1 to 2 p.m. Please come talk to me. I've only had a few takers, so I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts.
I'll continue what Matthew was saying. Just kidding. Okay, quickly. Did anybody not sign up for food in August that wants to? Because we only have 7 people signed up. Well, thank you, Les. Oh, that's all right. I want to make 2 introductions very quickly before we hear from our state senator, at least those of you who live in SD 31. I always appreciate it when we have leadership from other House districts that attend our meeting. And I can tell you, between Karen and I, we do go to a lot of House district meetings beside HD6. So I just want my friend and captain in HD2 to just wave. Sandy Barenbaum, thank you for being here. And as you have probably figured out and noticed, Where is Sean Camacho? Sounds like where is Carmen Sandiago? Sean has reserve duty tonight and was hoping to get out of it so he could be here, but he couldn't. So I want you to all say hi to Henry, Sean's aide. And if you have questions for Sean, you can talk to Henry in the back of the room or after the meeting. He will let Sean know what your questions are. And we will see Sean at the picnic, and he'll be here at the August meeting. Thank you, Henry, for being here.
All right, and I have the honor of introducing our last speaker. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Shanice Malouf. I am 6A co-captain. Thank you. I was trying to come up with something embarrassing to introduce you with, but I got nothing. But on a real note, I ran against Sean. Sean and Matt. And a serious note, this senator gentleman was the nicest person to me. Not only did he kind of mentor me through the process, but he became my friend. And that's hard to do when you're running against someone. We need more of that in politics. So, in honor of that, Senator Ball.
Thank you, Shanice, and thank you, everybody. HD6, there's so many wonderful faces who I know here. It's so great to be home. And great to see you all. I feel like I've been sort of trapped for the last 120 days. Now I'm coming out of my shell and talking to you all. Someone pointed out to me today, this is crazy, that 6 months ago, I was preparing for a vacancy election. I had a whole different job. A lot has happened in the last 6 months, and I really dove into the legislature and dove into the job. And so I'm really happy to be able to come here and resurface now that it's over. And talk to you all. I've had the chance to come and give you updates throughout the session, which have been great. But I wanted the opportunity to talk to you all about how session went more broadly, but also, since it was my first term, talk to you about what I worked on and maybe most importantly, the type of legislator that I am, because I want you all to know that, and I want you to know what your representation is up to. Ultimately, you're all my boss. So on that note, thank you so much for having me. Thanks for overstocking the desserts. So my son Nelson, who's in the back, comes here and comes away very happy. Yeah, I'm excited to get started. So it's funny, there's a mantra in Army Rangers that you're supposed to be a quiet professional. And I've always really lived that. I've just always felt like if you do the work, you don't have to brag about it. That's not a great fit for politics. And so I do have to learn to brag about myself. But I say that to say, I think results really matter. And so I'm going to brag to you about some of those results, which is that every legislator gets 5 bills. I came in late. I wasn't sure I was actually going to get all 5, but I'm pushy. And I got 5 bills, and all 5 of my bills passed. I'm really proud. Thank you. More is not always better. I want to go into what some of those bills were. I also, though, as a co-prime sponsor, joined 27 other bills, which was the most of any freshman legislator this year. And I'm proud of that, too. And I worked on some pretty big stuff. And so I thought I would take this time to talk about some of the bills that I worked on and also some of what the sort of bigger fights were, which weren't always about my bills in particular, and then just give you a little bit of a sense of what happened and what things were like behind the scenes. So I'll start by talking about one of the first bills I introduced, which was Senate Bill 182, which was a bill on the very popular topic of embodied carbon. There we go. So this will speak to all the climate nerds here. But Senate Bill 182 was this really wonderful bill. It was a climate bill, and it was all about concrete and cement, which sound really, really boring. They are boring. 4% of the world's carbon emissions come from cement. If it was a country, it'd be the 3rd largest emitter of CO2. It's over twice what the aviation industry is. It's just one of these things that, we now know and we need to decarbonize. The good news is we've been making cement the same way for a very long time. It uses coal ash, very wasteful, and there's lots of new ways to do this. And this is a really exciting area. There's some professors in Boulder, some professors at Mines, all these material scientists who are spinning off startups to look into this space. And it's actually an area where the big concrete companies, they sort of realize this is where things are going, and they have R&D departments, and they want to do this too. So Senate Bill 182 was about existing incentives and grant programs that the state has, expanding those to include this new burgeoning industry about low carbon construction materials. And it didn't just pass with overwhelming support. We had Republican co-sponsors who signed on to the bill because everybody, not just the environmental community, was really excited about this bill. Senator Cleve Simpson, who represents like southwestern Colorado, he's a rancher. There's a factory in his district that makes a type of hemp that you can use as a brick, and it's carbon negative. And so he hopped on the bill.
Yeah.
So it was a bill that I'm really proud of. It was a first of the nation bill. It won an award last week for the Colorado Energy Office from an organization in New York. But I was also really happy because we had zero money this year, as you all know. And I was able to pass a bill that was a climate bill that I think is going to make an impact that had total bipartisan support, which is just such a unicorn. So I was really happy about that bill. And also, I'll just say, sort of where I could at the legislature, I really tried to find consensus. Even when I didn't need things to be bipartisan, I sought out to see if we could get bipartisan support. And that was just how there's a lot of bills where that's not going to happen because every Republican's going to disagree with what I'm doing. That happened too. But where I could, I tried to make things bipartisan. So that was bill number one that I'm proud of. But the bill I'm most proud of is a bill that was signed today, and that was Senate Bill 282. So there's a theme here, but that was just luck. Senate Bill 282 was a bill about veterans. And, it's interesting. I did not expect coming into the legislature to do a lot of veterans work. But this bill came about because of a big black market that's sprung up that's taking advantage of veterans. They're often called claim sharks. And I'll give you sort of the full story. So basically, for a veteran, when a veteran goes to apply for disability, so I did this last year. I was initially rated as 20% disabled by the VA, and I went back last year, and that got changed to 60%. And I'm a member of veterans of the wars in Afghanistan and Iraq, and this is happening a lot to veterans of my generation. People are going back. A lot of it is veterans grappling with mental health. You might not be ready to talk about it when you get out, but give yourself 5 or 10 years, you're going to need some help. So it's veterans coming back for mental health. We've also learned that some of the things we did in Afghanistan and Iraq were really bad for your health, like burn pits. I stood next to a burn pit for like weeks on end, and then found out it's like causes cancer in terrible ways. So there's a lot of people coming back to the VA right now, and the system just can't take it, and the wait times are getting really crazy. So it's really turned into a crisis. The wait time for a claim at the VA at one point the average one was over a year. Biden, to his credit, really started investing in faster processing time. It is getting a little bit better. But in any event, there's a big logjam at the VA. There's a bunch of people that are employed at every county that are supposed to help you with your claim, because it's not an easy process. It's really confusing. But they're really overburdened because there's just too many people who need that type of help. And so what has happened is this cottage industry, who calls themselves consultants, they've swooped in and they've said, if you pay us, we'll help you with your claim. And it's exactly what you would think a black market would look like, right? So you've got some really bad actors. Like if you Google this, you will find all these companies that make it seem like they are the VA, really deceptive marketing. And they charge a ton of money, insane amount of money, and they frequently put veterans in debt. So a lot of veterans will go into debt just because they want to ask for benefits that they're entitled to. It's a wild, wild west system because it's totally unregulated. And there's been a battle in Congress about what to do about this space. But nobody, surprise, surprise, nobody has been able to agree. So these companies claim that they aren't filing the claims because they don't hit the submit button. Like the person who applies hits the submit button, which I will just say, like, as an attorney, if I made that argument in court, I would get disbarred. Really? Eli knows that. So it's in a very, like, to call it a legal gray area is, I think, nice to the industry. But that's what's happening. And the reason things are really logjammed is traditional veterans organizations like the VFW, DAV, which is usually an older generation of veterans, they really want to just ban this practice. So they say, shut it down. There should be no private industry that can charge veterans. And the problem is veterans do need help and they're just not getting it right now. And so the other side, this industry, they have said, we think that we should be able to exist and we think that we should be able to charge, as much as we want. And so both of those viewpoints are sort of dueling it out in DC, and they're dueling it out in Colorado. So there was a bill introduced really early in session. There was the VFW bill that said we're going to completely ban this. Then that died, and the industry ran their bill, and their bill said, let's put some guardrails on this, but also we're going to charge just an insane amount of money. The amount they charge is usually over $1,000 an hour, which is like what Chevron pays their attorneys. Yeah, it's a lot of money. So that bill died too, and I introduced Senate Bill 282. And Senate Bill 282 was a compromise, but it was a really big fight. And it was a fight because that industry lost a lot of money, frankly. And what we did is we said, you can exist. We're not going to ban you entirely, but we are going to put guardrails on what you do, and we're going to restrict how much you can charge. And we actually looked at other sort of areas of benefits, so SSI, SSDI, and in that world, you can charge. You can charge up to 25% of the first check somebody gets. So we said, hey, we're going to use those rules because we know it works. You can't come and tell us we're putting you out of business or veterans are going to not be able to get the help they need. It'll work. You'll make a lot less money, but it'll work. And I will say, credit to the Colorado veterans organizations. They came on board, and it was a really big deal. The VFW nationally has never been able to come off the position that this should just be banned outright. And Colorado was the first state where all the veteran organizations came together. The veteran community is sort of like herding cats. Like there's a lot of viewpoints there. But I spent a lot of time talking to them, and they signed on to this as the approach they wanted to support. And from that, it became a really big fight. So the industry, they are doing really, really well. And they hired a lot of people and a lot of very expensive lobbyists, and they came after this bill. And it was an interesting experience for me because some bills you've got warring groups on either side. But this was a group where, the VFW, it's not always the largest voice at the Capitol. Like the sad truth is a lot of times the largest voices are the ones with most resources. And so it was us. It was just a couple of legislators going up against, a lot of pressure other folks were getting, a lot of false narratives about how veterans really wanted, their approach and their bill. But it passed almost unanimously out of the Senate, also passed overwhelmingly in the House. And I'm really proud today to say that it was signed into law this morning by Governor Fuller. Thank you. And there's an addendum to this, which is that the VFW now calls this the Colorado bill. So does the National Association of Attorneys who handle veterans claims.
Oh, wow.
And so I'm actually headed to DC later this month to go talk to a number of groups about potentially using the Colorado bill as a national way forward. So I'm really, it's but I'm very thrilled. I'm very thrilled about that. The third bill I want to talk about is not one of the 5 that I introduced, but it was a bill on, this is just all like, no niche issues here. So it was on single staircase buildings. There we go. There we go. So this was a bill that Stephen Woodrow, who, is anybody here HD2? No. Okay.
Yeah.
One issue. Stephen Woodrow, sponsored with Andy Basenecker in the House, and then myself and Nick Hendrickson in the Senate, sponsored. So who doesn't know why single staircases is a bill? Okay, good. So basically, in the United States, you have to have 2 staircases if your building is taller than 3 stories. That's pretty different than how the rest of the world does it. In the rest of the world, you use different building materials, and you can have a single-story building up to 6 stories, sometimes 10 stories. The 2 staircases rule came from tenement fires in the 1860s. We made a lot of improvements in fire science since then. So with what we know now and what the materials we use, there's not really a difference in the fire risk. So why does this matter? So it matters because you need a lot of land to build a building with 2 staircases. You don't need as big of a plot if you only have 1 staircase. And so what that means is if you look at like the number of units in multifamily residential in the United States, there's like nothing under 30 units. We basically don't build like gentle density that's residential because you have to have a pretty large plot of land. So single staircase buildings are this, really great way if you don't have a lot of land. Sometimes this is true, I think, especially in Denver, to build density. And not only that, but the type of density that you can get in these buildings actually tends to be things like family apartments, which we don't have enough of in this city. We have a lot of apartments that is sort of the right place to live if you're in your 20s, maybe in your 30s. But you can fit in a lot of apartments that have maybe 3 or 4 bedrooms in these buildings. So it's a good way to increase housing supply. In my opinion, that's a really important part of pushing the cost of housing down, which is ultimately what I care deeply about. And so I hopped onto this bill because I really like this policy. This bill was a fight too, though, and the fight was with the fire community. The bill actually came through the legislature last year and failed. And part of that was because nobody talked to the firefighters beforehand. And the firefighters, I get it. They're like, hey, I'm the one who goes into the building. And I'm trained on 2 staircases. And that's been the mantra in the United States for years. So let's sit down and talk about this first. And so this bill, that was done, and the fire chiefs and the fire marshals in the House got on board. But the union was not on board when this bill came to me. So it came to me in the Senate, and it had passed through the House, but the union was really not happy about this bill. And I spent probably a week and a half at the Capitol heavily negotiating a deal on this bill. And the reason was there was enough support that the bill could have passed over the objection of the union, but I did not want to do that to the union. And so I worked with them. We had a number of meetings about what they needed to see in the bill that would get them to a place where they felt safe, they felt like they had their input, and we were able to come together and find a deal. And so I'm really proud of that. And I share that just to say, again, just in terms of how I operate, I think I tend to operate in a way where I want to hear the voices of everybody who has concerns about a bill, but especially our allies, right? Like, especially when it comes to unions. And I take that very seriously with the work that I do. So that's number 3. And then number 4, am I good on time?
You've got a timer. We have a new technology here.
Oh my goodness.
And I'm not running it.
But I was given a lot of time, which is good or bad, depending on how
I'll
you think about
stand
it.
when you're supposed to.
Okay, great. So last thing I want to talk about is I'll just say, my approach this session was I just tried to really do my homework and do a good job. There's 600 plus bills that come through in 120 days. So it's like the world's worst speed dating. And that means you have to make decisions without necessarily being able to really dig in. But I tried my best to read every bill that came across my desk, really dig into what the impact of those bills would be, and make informed decisions about what those were. There are some legislators who will sort of vote based on where the lobby is, right? Or based on sort of the different people who say this is a good bill, this is not a good bill, and I represent so-and-so. I'm not that type of legislator. I ask a lot of questions. I dig in as much as I can, and sometimes what that means is there's work that happens that isn't necessarily about my bills, but it's about other people's bills that I do work on. And so the example that I want to talk about is a bill that was House Bill 1020. And that bill was about basically slumlord apartments that have been, basically left. So think about, was it the CBZ property in Aurora, right? Or Cedar Run in Denver. So properties that are really blighted. Renters are being completely victimized. It's a really bad situation. And so what this bill did is it allowed cities to take decrepit buildings into receivership, basically to seize them and then transfer the ownership. So, good idea. We heard a ton of pushback though, and it was from mom and pop landlords who said, whoa, if the city can come in and seize my apartment building, that worries me. And as drafted, the bill said a city could come in and it could seize your apartment building if you had 2 health code violations. And I'll just tell you, all of you have 2 health code violations. I'm sorry to say, having worked at the city. And so I did a lot of work on that bill, basically to come up with a threshold that we all agreed on, that made, good tax-paying, nice landlords that are good to their tenants, feel at ease that this wasn't going to be something that was used against them, and also give us the ability to go after real slumlords. And so we, for all the legal people in there, we pegged it at the warranty of habitability, which sort of makes sense. And that went as an amendment in Judiciary Committee that I sat on. That also, quelled the fears of a lot of my colleagues. I don't know if the bill would have passed without that. Went into the bill, and that bill has now become law. So I share that just to say there's a ton of work that happens at the Capitol. I've been working very hard for the last couple months, and some of it comes out in the form of bills that I ran. Some of it is just, sort of things that happen that I think make a difference, even if they don't make the light of day. So with that said, I have still time, which is great.
Just for questions. Just for questions.
No, that's what I'm about to do. And then, so I'd love to take any questions from you. And thanks for having me.
One of the things you talk about is work with the bail laws that force counties to release people in the middle of the night because of time limitations. Did anything happen with that this year?
Yes, so that bill passed too. So the question was about a bill that I worked on, Senate Bill 190, which also passed. And this bill was about basically preventing a problem in Denver where we release people from jail in the middle of the night all the time. So I had worked on this problem at the city, and so I was excited to bring this bill at the state to fix this. But basically, there are a lot of people who are arrested and they have to be released within 6 hours. There's an automatic time clock. But what that means is if you get booked at 9 p.m., you have to get out at 3 a.m., even if, I ran a team of social workers at the city, even if you have a social worker and a bed in a sober living facility, and they're ready to take you there, but they come to work at 8. And so it was affecting about 1,000 people a year. It was a lot of cases. And so I ran a bill, Senate Bill 190, that fixed that loophole and said that if you are connecting somebody to services, the jail can permit you to stay there until that happens. So I talked with the sheriff of Denver recently about that bill. He's excited about it. I'm excited that it's going to fix a thing. But yes, that bill did pass.
Okay, my question is about your veterans bill. Will vets be obligated from now on to go to a third-party cottage industry, meaning the Veterans Administration would no longer help them with the help they need seeking the benefits?
No, so the whole system that gives this for free to veterans, that stays intact. And I actually worked on the budget a little bit this year to make sure they increase their funding. So that is still there, and veterans can always get that for free.
Joint Budget Committee had a lot to do this year. How well did they keep in touch with even junior senators like yourself?
To the JVC's credit, so I'll repeat the question. The question was, the JVC did a lot of work this year. How well did they keep in touch with senators and junior senators like myself? I think the JVC did a fantastic job this year. I really do. They kept the caucus well informed throughout the process. They also asked for input from the caucus on values. And so when we talked about the budget, I think a lot of what the JVC was able to do was not cut things that a lot of people in the party felt were sacred, like healthcare, like education. And the budget reflected that, I think, in part because the JVC really talked to the whole caucus and got a sense of where people are.
Good. Next question is over here.
Speaking of budget, I just want to give another kudos to Senator Bridges. Not that he's listening, but big fan of all the work that they did. What is your forecast for this next year budget? Because we're all hearing scary things. And then what are some of the ways that you feel like you can approach to find a solution?
Great question. I wanted to end on a happy note. So next year's budget is going to be worse than this year's budget. A lot of the way that the JVC was able to balance the budget this year was by looking for one-time funds. So maybe it's a grant program that was going to expire in 2 years. You could have it expire in 1 year and you would save money. But that's not there anymore. So I'm nervous about next year because we are in a structural deficit because of Tabor. Not only that, but we're going to see what happens with the federal budget this year. And I think there's a decent shot that we come back for a special session in October because things like Medicaid might get cut. So I think next year is the year we're going to really make hard decisions. As far as what I am doing about it, one thing that I've been doing a little bit of research on is where are the tax credits or the things we're spending money on that we don't need to, like it could be a business incentive, it could be a tax break, particularly for wealthier folks. So one example of that is this year we discovered that there's I think over $15 million that's been going to the sports gambling industry because of an exception they can take. Yeah, that's what I thought. So a bill was passed this year that sunsets that. So I'm going to do a review to see if there are any other things like that where we can basically generate revenue, right, by getting rid of maybe some things that we don't need to do anymore. But I don't want to oversell it. I don't think there's going to be a way to, make little snips around the edges and get to 500 million, $1 billion, whatever it is, dollars next year.
You had somebody over there.
Okay. So I know there's a difference of opinion on this, but to me it feels like a lot of poorly drafted tech bills have made it through the state capitol over the last few years. Some of them have been vetoed by the governor. Some of them have made it through. I was wondering what your perspective was on a lot of these tech bills making it through. I'm thinking about the porn bill. I'm thinking about, the social media bill that got vetoed, those sorts of things. Thanks.
Great question. There's a lot happening right now around tech and around AI. So I'll just talk about all the things that you raised. So Senate Bill 86, you may have heard about, that was vetoed by the governor, but that was a bill about basically for like the Facebooks of the world. There's a lot of black market trading of firearms on those spaces. There's like sometimes abuse against minors. Like there's some very bad things that happen on social media platforms or networks. And they all have moderation teams, but they're obviously erring on the side of getting more users because that's how they make money. So this bill would have put what I consider to be some common sense restrictions on what you need to do to police the space that you're running on the internet for things like, child pornography, firearm or drug sales that are happening on the internet, things like that. The governor vetoed it. I think, my perspective on this is tech's an industry. I don't think it's any different than any other industry. So we should regulate it like we regulate other industries, but be smart about it. And I saw that bill as a pretty smart way to do that. The child pornography bill that came through this year, this was a bill on requiring age verification for individuals who are, I think, 18 and under. This bill did not see the light of day. I never voted on 201, but how I approach this is I've got a 3, 5, and a 7-year-old. There's my 7-year-old. Nelson, close your ears. Please close your ears. I get very scared about my son learning about certain things by looking on the internet. Like that terrifies me. I'm terrified about my girls also seeing things on the internet and that shaping the way they think about themselves. And I've seen, there's, I think, some terrible things out there. And I do think there is a connection between that, like men internalize that stuff, right? So I would like to do something about that problem. It's a really hard problem to solve because there's some serious privacy issues at play. We're in an era where I think we're all getting a little nervous about what happens to our data, especially under Trump. So what happens to that data? And everything leaks, right? So like now what happens if that leaks? So I don't know how to strike that balance. If that bill ended up being killed this year, it's going to come back next year, I would guess. I would love to find a way to strike that balance, but I think it's something people are going to have to keep working on. And then, last but not least, there's right at the end.
Yeah.
So AI was a big topic. There was no bill this year, but really short story is that last year there was a big AI bill, and there was sort of an understanding that that bill was flawed, and an understanding that folks were going to work on it to make it better, and that did not happen this session. So when we come back for a special session, I think there's a chance that AI and tech ends up being a part of what that session is about. I think there's some problems with the AI bill that was passed last year, and it's going to really impact. It's going to impact a lot of companies in very, I think, unexpected ways. So even companies that don't use AI, but they have like hiring software and that uses AI, now have like a ton of things they have to do that's going to be hard for them to do. So I'm open to reopening that conversation because I think there's tweaks that need to be made. But that may happen in the special session, and in the big, terrible, ugly bill federally, there is a provision that says states can't do anything about AI for 10 years right now. So if that passes, none of this matters because our laws won't go into effect, and then we won't have this conversation. All to say, there's a lot to unfold, so we'll see where that conversation goes, but that's how I look at it.
Okay, thank you, everybody. I saw there were a few more hands. Please, I think that Matt will stick around for a little bit. Feel free to approach him afterwards. Thank you all very much for coming. Please give Matt a big round of applause. And on your way out the door, please help us by folding up the chairs and the tables. Thank you.
We need to make a quick announcement. First of all, before you leave, if you would like to take a few desserts, we have baggies over there. Please take them. But if you could just wait 1 second, we want to talk about June 14th.
That's right, everybody. Who is excited about what's going on back east on June 14th? We all know about the military parade. You know what's going on. It's also my dad's birthday. We're all very excited about this. And here in we will be organizing for a massive rally in Civic Center Park, right outside the Capitol. We hope to see all of you there. We hope to see us get as many people as we can get. And we hope that you will all be in attendance. I'll be there. Karen will be there. You'll be there. We hope to see everybody there.
So there's.
Thank you. Now you can go on and enjoy your evening.
That's a whole protocol. And they have basically Oh, so that's when they have the
What I'm getting at is good job. No, it's okay. No. No, I mean, I'm glad you got on. Because at the end of the day, we don't really have to keep this information.